I'm gonna give you 5 tips on how to start writing lyrics. So my first tip is to mix both raw lyricism with figurative speech. So figurative speech is going to make everything sound more poetic with similes, metaphors, personification, etc. And it usually needs to be decoded by your audience, and it's going to make your song a lot more interesting and niche. But also mixing that with raw lyricism is going to give an edge to your lyrics because it's unpolished and unfiltered. For example, it's not the same thing to say I'm knocking on heaven's door versus I want to end me. They're both talking about dying, basically, but one of them is a little bit more subtle. It needs to be decoded by the audience versus the way that Billy says, I want to end me. It's very in your face and unfiltered. And then, second tip would be to understand the energy from which you want to write the song before you start writing it. So, our personalities are multidimensional and we don't have the same traits in different situations or scenarios. For example, you're not the same person at a funeral than at a family party, and you're not the same person at a family party than you're at the office party. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're inauthentic, it just means that you choose to showcase certain traits of your personality in different situations. So, choosing the energy from which you're writing before you start writing I think makes the songwriting process a lot easier. So my third tip is use the language that you most commonly used based on the energy that you had decided to write from. Like for example, I don't usually curse a lot unless I'm very angry, and when I'm angry I do curse a lot. So if I'm writing a song about being angry in that energy or anger management issues, then I'll be using curse words. But I'm not gonna force an F bomb in the middle of a song that doesn't require it just because I want it to sound edgy or whatever. In the same way that I wouldn't try too hard to sound eloquent or, polished, because that can come off as being corny to the audience. And then my next tip is to embrace your unique beliefs about basically anything, because that's going to create effortless poetry. For example, when Jim Morrison said, "This is the strangest life I have ever known," he was known to be into beliefs of reincarnation and spirituality. So I can conclude that he was being literal, but if you don't believe in reincarnation and you listen to those lyrics, you would think it's poetry. And he was known to be a poet, so you can easily mistake his literal beliefs for poetry, which is, I think, pretty cool because it just makes everything sound more interesting. And you have that too in your own unique way. So, for example, if I were to say something like, the angels told me you were going to be in my life. I don't know, something like that. An atheist or most people would think I'm just trying to write something really pretty, but in reality, if you believe, for example, in tarot or fortune tellers, then you would mean that literally. That you can use your own experiences and be as literal as you want, and those unique beliefs are going to sound like poetry to a person that doesn't have the same beliefs. And the people who do have the same beliefs will totally understand. So, my last tip is to create an artistic universe by reusing words or phrases that are unique to you. So, again, leaning into your uniqueness rather than focusing on writing songs that everybody can understand. For example, if I were a painter, I would say something like, I painted a picture of you in my head that wasn't real. So, using a lot of words like painting, brushes, colors. I would do that if I was not only a songwriter but also a painter, to create an artistic universe surrounding another one of my passions. And those are my 5 tips.